Hi, Kiva.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Well, how are you?
You just gave your keynote speech.
I did.
I have to say, great job. I think it was very engaging. The crowd seemed to really love it. And I just have to say, the eclectic choice of movies, the films that you showed during your presentation, you got a good response. I have to ask, first of all, I mean, this is a very serious question, but the dentist. I mean, I've seen that movie on HBO at 3 in the morning one time.
HBO, really?
Yeah, it was like, I think it was the scene where the guy was pulling his tooth out.
Yeah, big time.
But
yeah,
and it was really gruesomely great. But
I don't know why it was just something that we rented from. There used to be this video rental store near my friend's house, and it was great. You could get gumballs, and if you got a black gumball, you got a free rental. So it was like super exciting. It was just like something that we decided to rent, and it just became a joke of sleepovers. Of like, we gotta watch the dentist. It also had like a kind of raunchy sex scene where you're like, oh, I shouldn't be watching this. Oh my god. Ah.
Was it in the dentist chair, the sex scene?
No, it's with the pool boy by the pool, like with the wife.
That's
in the beginning.
right.
That's what turns him into an evil dentist. He becomes like jaded and angry about this.
And just starts
infidelity.
yanking people's teeth out.
Yeah,
and killing
it's
people.
anyways, I also am terrified of like dentistry.
Yeah, I had a couple fake teeth, and I've had some bad experiences. Can I get the cinema one time?
Cinema.
Visions is a undergraduate event, obviously. It's coordinated, promoted by undergraduates, our staff. And a lot of your keynote speech had to do with, I think, what was the title?
Overcoming imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody at one point in college, no matter what the major is, has that kind of idea, goes through that experience, because it's just sometimes you feel out of place.
Yeah.
Can you just go into a little bit about what imposter syndrome is and like how you described it during your keynote speech?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I first heard the word when I started my master's, and they were like, "You're gonna have imposter syndrome. Don't worry, you're fine, you're supposed to be here." And no one listened. And we spent the first semester being crippled with anxiety. Like, I'm not smart enough to be here. There's other people who are better at this. What am I doing here? And basically just this continual cycle of self-doubt and self-questioning, which, having self-doubt and self-questioning is incredibly important to being a well-rounded human being, but then to a certain point you suddenly I'm not even being productive anymore.
Yeah.
And having just constantly assuming that everyone else is better than you in some kind of better way. But I think it's also something that you kind of have for the rest of your life. I was just speaking to somebody after the keynote, and she was, in her 40s, and she was like, I still get that. And I think that's something that basically you just sort of learn how to manage and mitigate, I guess. Yeah. I mean, even this idea of being exclusive, I think, is something that's, when you tell people, or like I write about film or I work in film, because film is it's everywhere and everyone has an opinion on it, that sometimes people think like, oh, well, you must be super elitist or super stuck up about it or something like that. And for me, my favorite part about film is talking about it, and talking about it with people from like all kinds of backgrounds, all different perspectives, and it's, at the end of the day, criticism is opinions, and like what you like, so long as you can back it up intelligently and have an actual conversation and dialogue about it, as opposed to just whoever can yell the loudest wins.
Can you go through? You showed the clip to Cleo. Can you say the full name of that film?
Cleo de 5 à 7, or just Cleo from 5 to 7.
Cleo from 5 to 7, and that was what you based your digital journal on.
Yeah.
Can you go into a little bit about what inspired you to name Cleo after that film?
Yeah, in terms of the actual film, this film's all about this woman who's a very sort of superficial pop star singer, and she realizes that she might have cancer, and this could be, she has a tarot reading at being overdosed, that you have very little time to live. So she has to, just sort of changes her perspective on life, and she becomes a fuller person by wandering the city and by being like a flaneuse. And this is like, being a flaneur was mainly like something that men did. This was because men exist differently in public space and are afforded far more privilege in public space, are safer in public spaces.
Yeah.
So for this film to be centered on a woman doing it was very different at the time. And it's just set from these 12. It's not quite fully real time, but it is just set between these 2 hours of the day.
French New Wave.
Yeah, exactly. Not quite real time.
Yeah.
so chronicling just her journey over these 2 hours and how she basically just explores space around her without any kind of real aim. And that's sort of what we want to do with the journal too, which not that we're aimless, but without setting down a clear mandate from the outside, being like, this is what you have, and we don't want to define what feminism is. We want to explore what it means, and the way that Cleo in that scene walks around and observes what's around her, we're hoping that writers will do that as well. The film organically, or when you're watching it, will reveal what it's about, and I don't think that every film necessarily. The strongest thing to write about in a film might not be its sexual politics or its feminist slant. It could be just purely from an aesthetic point of view, how it's actually its formal aspects might be something, its structure. That might be the more pressing thing that you actually want to write about.
You just mentioned strong female characters. What are some of your favorite strong female characters? Besides, obviously Laura Dern in Jurassic Park is going to be one of them. I know. Because I know you said in my pre-interview.
Super into it.
Jurassic Park.
Oh my god, I sound like such a Philistine. No, actually, Laura Dern's a great example too, just for her work that she does with David Lynch as well.
What was the David Lynch film? Was it?
She's in Inland Empire. And she's also in Blue Velvet. Also shot in Wilmington. I hear there's a tour. I'm looking forward to take it. But that's a really hard question. I don't know if I can think of it off the top of my head. I mean, I guess the conversation that I usually have when it comes to strong female characters is making it something more than just like
they're acting like maybe a
it's not like a one-to-one thing, and you can have a strong female character or this reactionary sense of like, well, to be a strong female character she needs to be like in a rape revenge scenario or like the final girl, something like that. Like no, like a strong female character can absolutely be like a mother, or like these traditional roles that sometimes are looked down upon in certain circles by being traditional, basically. But I think when it comes down to what makes a strong female character is really just creating a character. That's where it ends. It's not rocket science. You give your male characters a backstory and interests and motivation, and they're suddenly intriguing. If you do that with a female character, it's going to work the same way as well.
There's no set criteria or mold for
absolutely not. And there was just there was a report released on gender disparity on screen, and it was this ridiculous divide of something like 60 to 70% of the time male characters were given a job and actual motivation for their actions, and 30% of the time it's just women just existed and just were. There's nothing that compelling about it. I mean, again, like any art, it's it speaks to you on some level, right? And
you get frustrated when it doesn't. Somebody to somebody else.
Or talking with someone who doesn't like the same movie, you're like, wait, how is that? Everyone has their their threshold of what that is, and obviously having differing views is actually incredibly important. But I think this is misattributed to Roger Ebert, but someone said never marry someone who doesn't like the same movies as you because it'll never work out. Kind of telling, right? You need to have. It's not just about taste, but it's also about, I think, for me at least, a certain outlook on life and what kind of films speak to you, and that's also how you approach the world. Because again, I think films aren't just on the screen in this two-dimensional or real 3D form, but they're part of the fabric of society.
What do you think is the most important thing about showcasing undergraduate work, and how do you think this will affect their work and their just general mindset in the film industry in the future?
Well, I think I was talking about this with somebody inside as well. I think for the filmmakers, the opportunity to show your work is so crucial if it's only just developing a thicker skin, because inevitably, no matter what, someone's not going to like it, and that's really hard to deal with. Same thing with writing. You put yourself out there and that happens, and learning how to cope with that and deal with that graciously and learn from it. If it's constructive criticism, I think is something that's hugely important, and just being able to have a dialogue about your work is inevitably going to help you grow as as a director, as a writer, as a producer, as anything like that. I think also too, this Visions is an amazing idea for just a course for someone to, or for a class to work on. Because there's so many facets where you can work in film. People always think of, oh, I want to be a director, I want to be a writer. Well, you can also work in programming. You can work at a film festival. They're huge operations that work year round, as you now
worked
know.
at a film festival, right?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
I did. Yeah, it's like a community film festival.
Nice.
So there's all these different ways to work around film, and having a course like Visions actually gives concrete work experience for it. So like Zoe could go work in hospitality coordination, which is a huge job, and dealing with directors and coordinating all that kind of stuff. So
She's good at it too.
She's very good at it.
She's amazing.
I know, ringing endorsement. So I think having a course like that that combines showcasing people's work as well as creating this sort of real life scenario that gives concrete work experience is a really amazing project. So, yeah.